Because of Doug Ford's underfunding, colleges and universities in Ontario are facing bankruptcy, so the province has announced over $1 billion in new spending to help these schools. And part of this announcement is also another 3-year freeze on tuition. In 2019, the government cut tuition costs by 10% and froze them in place. Since 2019, inflation has been roughly 18.5%. So you can start to see why universities and colleges are facing bankruptcy, considering the fact that Doug Ford has made it untenable for them to survive in this province. It's also important to note that the $1.3 billion that the government is giving is less than the $2.5 billion that the expert panel put together by the government recommended. And that panel also recommended an increase in tuition. Since Doug Ford took office, we've already seen one university go bankrupt, and other universities have had whispers of having to close down certain programs, like Queen's closing down some of their arts programs. This is because of Doug Ford's chronic underfunding of the education system. And Ford claims that in 2019, when he froze tuition, Ontario had the highest university tuition. But a report by HISA shows otherwise. For Ontario to reach the average of the other provinces, they would have to increase yearly spending by $7.1 billion, which is astronomical considering that the government only funds colleges and universities in Ontario to the tune of $5 billion. And the Council of Ontario Universities is saying that at least 10 universities are projecting operating deficits this year of a combined $175 million. But considering the fact that there's over 50 colleges and universities in Ontario and the government's only giving $1.3 billion, that's approximately $20-ish million per school, which for some schools obviously will not be enough to cover their deficit. But Doug Ford doesn't care about that. When Ford first took office, he floated the idea of tying university funding to job acquisition rates, with the not-so-secret goal of defunding the arts programs in Ontario. Because the way that Ford and the Conservatives see it, if university isn't providing you a direct path to a career, why would you go at all? But what the Conservatives are really scared about is that there is a direct correlation between the amount of education that you get and your likelihood to not vote for the Conservative Party. Because yes, across the world there is a direct correlation between left-wing politics and education levels. This has nothing to do with intelligence, just that when you go to university you are exposed to more ideas and therefore you are more open-minded. Ford doesn't want that for Ontario.